Broadcasts of HIKI NŌ are made possible by the support of viewers like you. Mahalo. And by Bank of Hawaii Foundation, investing in Hawaii's future by promoting collaboration, critical thinking, and other 21st century skills through HIKI NŌ.
Aloha, o wau o Kainalu Mobiles.
Aloha, o au o Makua Silva.
O au o Nohea Lenny Miller.
O Poliahu Lindsay Ko'oinoa. Aia no kako ma ke kula aloha aina o Halau kumana. He kula I ka moana I ka ahu pua'a o makiki I ke awava o Manalaha.
O kahi ke ia e malama ai I ka polo kalamu o HIKI NŌ. Ka polo kalamu nu ho mua āpuni o nā haumana o kou Hawaii pai aina.
Eia no nā pua o Hawaii ni e kūkahi ana me ka mana'u nui o HIKI NŌ.
I keia polo kolamu e ho'ohui ana nā kula ha'aha'a, kula waena, a me nā kula ki'eki'e mai nā moku puni e hā.
Mai Maui nui a kama. Eia o Maui Waena a mai ke kula ki'eki'e o Maui.
Mai ka moku o Keawe, eia ke kula ki'eki'e o Kealakehe.
Mai Kauai o Mano Kalanipo, eia ke kula o Island School.
No Oahu nei, eia ke kula ha'aha'a o Kainalu, ke kula waena o Ewa Makai, a me ke kula ki'eki'e o Iolani.
A o Mako no hoi. Ke kula ho'okipa o Halau kumana. Nā ho'okele.
Ma ke ia polo kalamu e kuka ana na poe mai na wahilike ole o Hawaii. E pili ana I kou lākou mo'olelo.
He mau mo'olelo, e ho'opili ai nā kaia ulu o Hawaii ni.
Ma HIKI NŌ.
Ma mua o ka ho'omaka ana eia he wahi leo mahalo. No nā hui I ho'okumu ai ia HIKI NŌ.
Ua hilina I lākou I ka hana nui o nā hamana e haku I ka polo kalamu nuho mua kou Hawaii pai aina.
Ua hili na I lākou ia mākou a olelo aku HIKI NŌ, a mahalo hoi ia lākou.
E ho'omaka kākou.
Welcome to Halau Kumana New Century Public Charter School, located in Maunalaha Valley in Makiki on the island of Oahu. Halau Kumana is home to 75 students from grades 6 to 12. Students travel once a week off campus to Malama the Lo'i at Aihualama, learn on our double-hull sailing canoe in Ka'alaia, and kokua at Heia Fish Pond on the windward side of Oahu. For our first story, we traveled to the Big Island to meet a Kealakehe High School student who wrote and submitted a new bill to standardize a personal transition plan for high school graduates in Hawaii.
It's not very often that the Board of Education changes its graduation requirements, but the BOE put into effect a new requirement that first impacted the class of 2010, the Personal Transition Plan. The PTP is an individual plan for every student to successfully move from high school to post-secondary education or the workforce. Although required for diploma, there is no set curriculum or format for the PTP.
So what we found is that different schools are doing different things across the state. There really is no consistency. Some schools are still using a traditional paper pencil. Other schools, such as ourselves, are using an e-portfolio system that allows them to keep things digitally.
I just heard other schools that do the PTP may not be as challenging as how ours is.
At my old school, we just had to go to a homeroom class once a month, write down what we wanted to be after high school or what we wanted to do on a piece of paper, and we put those papers in a folder.
But one student at Kealakehe feels the process should be standardized.
It's not an equal opportunity for students of Hawaii, and I think it should be. It was a great vision created, and it just needs to be followed through.
Caitlin's passion led her to write a resolution to the State Student Council. She presented to BOE and DOE committees proposing that all schools use an online portfolio and procedures now followed by Kealakehe.
Everything. It just has everything you need for post-high school life to prepare yourself. And I think it is a wonderful program, and everybody should use it.
However, many educators are concerned with the idea of standardizing the PTP or using an online system due to infrastructure and access issues.
While the delivery system should not be standardized, what should be standardized are the elements contained within the PTP. And these are elements that will help to guide the student through high school, give them a clear direction as to where they want to go after high school, so that it'll be a useful, dynamic document that will really support each student.
An example of a common element could be a PTP exit interview.
It combines everything you've learned into like this interview that you present to either staff or faculty or community members, and they don't judge you based on like what your dreams are or what your goals are. They pretty much are there to hear what your goals are and hear if you're prepared for post-high school and ready to live your life and follow your dreams. And I think it's awesome that you get to talk about it and people actually want to listen.
Caitlin's resolution is currently under review. If approved, it could impact the PTP process for all students in the state. This is Brittany Dotson from Kealakehe High for HIKI NŌ.
If you'd like to stay connected with what's happening on HIKI NŌ, log on to our Facebook page. It's filled with photos and current information about the show. You can also follow us on Twitter at HIKI NŌ Can Do. It's a great way to get reminders about upcoming episodes.
We're back at Halau Kumana Charter School, home base for this episode of HIKI NŌ. Since Halau Kumana opened in 2001, teachers and students have been politically aware and actively advocating for a number of issues such as equity in charter school funding, anti-GMO bills, and Hawaiian rights. One of the goals of Halau Kumana is to produce students who become agents of change to help improve our community. We traveled to the island of Maui, where a Maui Waena student explores the issue of self-image and how young people are influenced by the media and the fashion industry.
Casey Arase is an 11-year-old at Maui Waena Intermediate School. From the outside, she seems to have a perfect life.
Summarizing that paragraph, it says that he asked...
Casey is an extremely hard worker, puts in a lot of time, as I understand it, both in the classroom and on the field. She's the first one here, the last one to leave, and so she's a great example for everyone around her.
Everyone views Casey as a healthy, normal 6th grade girl. But when Casey looks in the mirror, she sees something else.
Well, I remember when I was little, I used to always love Disney princesses and how they used to be so skinny. So when I found out when I was old enough to look in the mirror and see I'm not like them, it made me realize that I think I'm fat.
Basically, girls who think they're fat when they're not is based around their body image. And typically that means that they have a poor body image. And our body image is how we perceive our bodies. It's something that's psychological. It's not necessarily based on facts.
Well, I know I should be thinking that a beautiful girl is nice, sweet, kind, but my image of a beautiful girl is skinny, pretty, small, and that girl is just not me.
Even with her busy life and many accomplishments, Casey is still hindered by her self-image.
Well, I'm not as confident. It makes me feel more shy or bashful because, like, you know, I'm scared of what people might think about me.
Because of how female beauty is depicted in advertising and the media, many girls find it difficult to reconcile what they think they should be with who they are.
Sometimes, yeah, I feel like I have to be perfect.
And we're seeing images of women that have this unachievable body. 5'11" and 117 pounds, whereas the average woman is about 5'4" and 140 pounds. And only about 1% of the female population is even capable of achieving a model type figure. So we're trying to achieve something that's totally impossible.
Faced with the problem of achieving the impossible, how should we respond?
I honestly don't know. I try to like every day figure that out, but I just can't.
There's a lot of really good websites out there with a lot of really good information and, you know, chat rooms and stuff like that. And if you do feel like yours is a more serious problem, you know, definitely do go seek help from the grade level counselor or talk to your parents about it and seek counseling outside of school.
Today, Casey may not know how to solve the problem, but hopefully in the future, she will be part of the solution. This is Gail Tolentino from Maui Waena Intermediate School, reporting for HIKI NŌ.
We're here at Ka'alaia on the windward side of Oahu, a very important place for Halau Kumana. Here, the 9th and 10th graders learn Hawaiian and modern navigation skills on Kanehunamoku, a double-hulled sailing canoe anchored here in Ka'alaia in Kaneohebe. One of the most important aspects of sailing on a canoe is learning and being able to apply all safety procedures. One of the safety procedures students practice and learn is a man overboard drill. During this drill, a crew member would jump overboard and all other crew members would work together to help get that man back on board safely. For our next story, we're staying here on the windward side of Oahu, heading over to Kainalu Elementary School, where a student was able to apply his life-saving skills to save his friend.
We have a true story that really happened at Kainalu Elementary during recess.
What would you do if your friend was in trouble and needed help?
Here's the story of a couple of friends who experienced a breathtaking event, literally.
Let's meet Sam and Owen.
Well, during recess, I was eating my snack, and so my snack was a chicken sandwich. On the sandwich, I had lettuce on it, and when I chewed the lettuce, I didn't chew it very well, and then it ended up getting stuck in my throat. And when it got stuck in my throat, I started to choke. Then I ran over to the grass, and my eyesight got very, very blurry, and all I could see was some green blur. And then all of a sudden, somebody came over to me and started doing the Heimlich maneuver on me, and then I choked out the lettuce.
I saw Sam choking, so I ran over there and I remembered the 4 B's, which is one of the Cub Scout rules, which is be strong, be calm, be clear, and be careful, from one of the activity pages that I learned about. So when I went over there, using the 4 B's, I was able to perform the Heimlich maneuver effectively and perfectly.
We had been discussing the terms literally and figuratively at home, and he came home from school the day that it happened and said, "Mom, I literally saved someone's life today." And I thought, well, okay, I thought he may have been exaggerating, but as his story progressed and he described what he had done for Sam, I realized that this actually happened.
Well, I got this award for saving Sam's life, and it's very important to me because it came from the commanding officer. And I'm very grateful that I learned all my Cub Scout skills so I could get this award.
Well, because of that heroic action that he made, I think that he really, really deserved to get that. I mean, if he didn't save me, then what would he do? He would probably feel like a failure.
I think it's really neat for all of us to know that a child as young as that can perform a life-saving maneuver.
So, after that, I felt that I needed to join Cub Scouts because I could learn other life-saving moves to save other people, like family and friends and situations during recess.
Being saved by a friend is something that changed both of their lives forever.
Now Sam and Owen are the best of friends. I'm Sophie.
And I'm Erin,
Reporting for HIKI NŌ
for Kainalu Elementary School.
Aloha, we're back at Halau Kumana in beautiful Mauna Loa Valley in Makiki. Poetry. From the first nursery rhymes we learn as preschoolers to the lyrics of our favorite songs as teens, poems shape the lives of students. While most teens think of poetry writing as something done only in language arts class, a growing number of Hawaii teens are seeing it in a new way. Hawaii's spoken word poetry movement is gaining in popularity among teenagers. Later in the program, we'll see a story that students from Iolani School have produced about how performance poetry is helping them become poets. We now travel to Island School on Kauai, where their students will teach us how to replace the glass backplate of an iPhone if it cracks.
Have you ever dropped your iPhone and shattered your back panel? You can find a selection of iPhone back panels for sale on the internet. Here is the new back panel. The tool required will be either a 000 Phillips screwdriver or a penelope screwdriver. First, undo the 2 little screws at the bottom of the phone. Make sure not to lose the 2 little screws. Next, remove the back panel by sliding it upward. Take caution when pressing onto the shattered glass. Place the new back panel onto the phone and lock it in place by firmly sliding it down. Finally, replace the 2 bottom screws. Now your iPhone is as good as new.
We're back at another important place for Halau Kumana at Pai Pai o Heia Fish Pond on the windward side of Oahu in Kainalu. Halau Kumana 6th graders come here once a week to examine the ecological life of the fish pond. Students learn from fish, crabs, and algae and conduct experiments to take science out of the classroom and apply it hands-on to better remember the science concepts learned that's related to the natural environment. From Heia on the windward side of Oahu, we travel to the Valley Isle for Maui High School story on a woman who's dealing with her mother's debilitating disease, Alzheimer's.
And you have to find humor in life, otherwise you can go crazy pretty fast.
For Maui resident Miss Martha Watkins, finding humor while caring for her mother keeps her sane.
Such pretty hair, Mom.
In 2010, 87-year-old Beth Snyder Watkins was diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
I just started noticing that she wasn't, being as good about taking the pills. She was forgetting things.
There's areas that are affected by the disease that impair thought and memory. What we notice first is that it's short-term memory.
Alzheimer's, a form of dementia, kills brain cells causing loss of memory and unpredictable actions.
She said things like, "Oh, that's such a nice battery on the top of that pole," or "That man has a nice battery on his head." So there are moments of fun.
After short-term memory loss and repetition, patients often regress back to their childhood.
She's that teenager who wants her mom and dad. She wants to go home. And so not realizing that home and her parents are past.
As the disease progresses, their ability to interact with others worsens.
The hardest part of the whole thing, besides just watching somebody so intelligent lose their ability to communicate. It was when she no longer knew who I was. So essentially, I lost my mother at that point.
According to the Alzheimer's Association, there are 5.4 million Americans living with Alzheimer's. These numbers are expected to rise to 6 million by 2020.
I get it. It's okay. Let's keep that on so that you stay warm, Mom, because you're cold.
Taking care of an Alzheimer's patient is difficult. Caregivers often feel guilt, anger, and stress. To lighten the load, experts suggest a new way of looking at life.
You enter their world. That's an important thing to say about Alzheimer's. You join their world. You don't try to make them adapt to your world anymore.
Currently, there are no proven preventions or cures for Alzheimer's, but certain medications help slow down its effects. For the caregivers, finding comedy in life can help relieve some of the stress.
If you can see the humor in a situation, it's a whole lot easier to deal with. And yeah, it's very, very, very important to get those moments of happiness.
This is Rachel Andrada from Maui High School for HIKI NŌ.
Yes, you do. All right.
Every year before graduating, the 12th graders of Halau Kumana are responsible for creating a senior project that helps them explore possible career paths. Inspired by the fact that 80% of the clothes we buy wind up in landfills after 5 to 10 years, Kanoi Aldosa, one of our seniors, decided to do her senior project on the trend of upcycling, taking clothes that would probably be thrown away and creating something fashionable. She created new outfits and put on a fashion show to promote upcycling as a better way to a sustainable future. From here in Makiki, we traveled to Ewa Beach for our next story, about a teacher who immigrated from Vietnam, worked as a fashion designer, and is now a teacher at Makai Middle School.
Miss Loan Lim is a 7th grade special education teacher at Makai Middle School. Miss Lim seems to be like any other person with a normal childhood, but if you take a closer look, you'll see that she had a different background from most people.
In 1975, my family and I escaped from Vietnam to come to this country because the communists were taking over. At that time, if my father had stayed in Vietnam, he would eventually be imprisoned or killed.
After Miss Lim's family escaped from Vietnam to Hawaii, they settled down and she attended a couple of different schools here.
So we came here, we lived in housing for a very long time. I went to Waipahu Elementary School and also got educated in elementary school because we lived in Halau housing for 6 years.
Coming to Hawaii with nothing, Miss Lim always tried to make the best of things.
I grew up in Makaha, and that's the west side of this island, and it's known as to be the rougher side and also the poorer side of the island.
Miss Lim's family business was running a monopool truck and laundromat. This required a lot of time, energy, and hard work.
So, you know, every single day they would make me work. Every single day I would go to school, come home, do all the chores that in the business, and then and do well in school.
Growing up differently taught Miss Lim the value of hard work and making the most of what you have. She doesn't believe in cutting corners, but believes in hard work and self-dedication. This is the message that she passes down to her students through her work every day.
Always expecting them to do more than what they can do, because a lot of times children would come to you and say, oh, this is all I can do. But my job is to always push them more than what they know they can do, and that's my job.
Miss Lim's message to the students here at Makai and students all around the world is that they should always believe in themselves. Without trying, you won't get anywhere. This is Katie Castlebar at Makai Middle School reporting for HIKI NŌ.
If you'd like to comment on any of the stories on HIKI NŌ, join the discussion at facebook.com/HIKI NŌ can do or tweet us at twitter.com/HIKI NŌ can do.
We're back at another very important place to Halau Kumana Charter School, Lion Arboretum in the back of Manoa Valley. The lo'i next to Aihualama Stream are a series of ancient tower patches that have been brought back to life by teachers and students of Halau Kumana and other community groups. The juniors and seniors of Halau Kumana come here once a week to malama the lo'i and apply ancient Hawaiian science to keep the land fertile. Once overgrown with invasive species, now the lo'i kaula here thrives by using the waters of Aihualama Stream in ancient Hawaiian way to produce kaula again.
I am standing here in a place that we call Oahu. This is where we chant to start and end our school day, and this is also where we practice hula. Hawaiian values, traditions, and language are incorporated in regular content area here in the classrooms at Halau Kumana. A big part of our culture here at our school is learning to speak Hawaiian and learning many different chants. Although it is very difficult, using our voices to practice Hawaiian culture is vital to being a pio or a student here at Halau Kumana. Now we travel Makai to see how the art of slam poetry helps students at Iolani become spoken word poets.
Most teenagers think of poetry as words on a page, written in old-fashioned English and not easy to understand.
There's still yet nothing to bleed except for these crappy, tired metaphors, the ones that are almost
But a growing number of Hawaii teens are changing their minds about what poetry is.
My name is Darren. I'll be facilitating today. Just a reminder of the rules for those that are new. The first rule that we have at Youth Speaks Hawaii is the standard is yourself. We're not trying to make you into the next Walt Whitman or the next Shakespeare, but we are trying to make you into the best possible writer you can be. So with this being said, don't compare yourself to any other writer that you've run across in your life or any other writer in the room. If you're going to compare yourself to any
Every Wednesday afternoon, aspiring teen poets meet at the Arts at Mark's Garage in Chinatown.
That I can come and just openly share my feelings and be
myself and talk about whatever I need to talk about. And shut up. And nobody's gonna judge me because in this room, you are you.
Mentors coach students in writing poetry and performing it for an audience.
If I could ask the past me anything, it would be, remember to punch your mother. Not because you hate her or you're trying to kill her, but simply because she is your best friend and you don't even know it yet. Simply because she spent your whole life trying to ensure that one day you will have a life, one that isn't like hers.
Solomon Stoddard didn't think of himself as a writer until he began attending Youth Speaks workshops.
I had a really hard time of actually finishing a poem. So I would do a lot of writing, but I would never finish a poem. So when I actually first finished a poem, it was probably like a year after I started coming to the workshops. This is where crush became crushed. Voice became lost on rock bottoms where she's found. She holds herself in her arms because she feels herself falling apart. Her own mother told her to grow up.
I wish on broken stars.
Serena Simmons writes poetry that communicates honesty and the idea that we are all one.
Becoming blind was never on my bucket list, so shut your mouth and be quiet. Then not everything is about you, or you, or you, but about all of us.
She will be representing Hawaii's teen poets at a national tournament this July. She has been to nationals once before.
Maintenance can't seem to help them because every failed renovation turns into a successful dilapidation.
For these students, poetry gives them a voice they may not have found otherwise.
We want to be heard with every bone in our being. We want them to hear us because no one else can. And that's just the thing, isn't it? No one else will.
From Iolani School and HIKI NŌ, I'm Ashley Mizuo.
Oya, oya no ka polo kalamu o kia pule.
Mahalo ia o ko I ka ho'olohe ana mai na mo'olelo o ko ka ko aina.
Mamua o ka panina e ke kai mau ki o ko mako kula.
Mai poina e ho'i ho mai ia e nana I na hana mai kai o na haumana o Hawaii ne. Ma ka polo kalamu o HIKI NŌ ma PBS Hawaii.
Aloha aina, e o Halau kumana, HIKI NŌ. Broadcasts of HIKI NŌ are made possible by the support of viewers like you. Mahalo. And by Bank of Hawaii Foundation, investing in Hawaii's future by promoting collaboration, critical thinking, and other 21st century skills through HIKI NŌ.